morning. My name is Frank Sinatra.
What?
I've got you under my skin.
Everybody warned me. They said, look out, this guy could get very tough. I knocked on his door, and he said, what do you want to see me for? I said, well, I'm completely nervous about performing. I said, my knees shake when I hit the stage. I'm a very nervous guy. He said, well, don't worry about that. He said, the people never mind that. In fact, they'll support you. He says, if they see that you don't care, then they're not going to care. He says, and that would be disastrous.
No one to this day delivers a lyric and that conveys a lyric the way Sinatra does. I don't care whether if he talks it, he don't have to sing as far as I'm concerned. Just talk the lyric and I'll be,
I would try to mimic him. I would breathe where he would take a breath and then phrase like he would phrase. And I did that for a few years, in fact, in my career, because I didn't have my own story to tell. You know, I didn't have my own life. I was too young. And I didn't have the kind of experiences to tell the story, the heart-wrenching things, you know, that he went through.
He creates a mood, which very few people are able to do. I don't think I create a mood when I sing.
On the 12th of December 1915, hundreds of immigrants made their way to this harbor from all over the world, just as they did every other day in those days. Most of them were poor and endured great hardship in their journeys, but they had a dream of a new life in a new land. Many had come from the old world of Europe, among them the grandparents of Francis Albert Sinatra. They settled in Hoboken, New Jersey, right across the Hudson from the glory of Manhattan. Hoboken is where the rest of America begins. Natalie Garaventi Sinatra gave birth to her son at 415 Monroe Street. It was a difficult delivery. The baby weighed in at an improbable 13.5 pounds. The doctor's forceps damaged the child's face and neck and left him with a punctured eardrum. He didn't breathe until his grandmother held him under a cold water tap. Natalie, known as Dolly, had been married to Martin Sinatra for 3 years. Her parents were from Genoa, northern Italy. She was a midwife and, in her spare time, an activist in the local Democrat Party. Martin Sinatra's parents were from Sicily. He was a fireman and an amateur boxer. Francis Albert was their only child.
Well, the beginning came when I was a boy of about 10 or 11 years old, and I started singing with the school choir and the church choir, and on picnics and what have you, whenever there was a chance to sing. And it was then that I realized, that far back, that I wanted to become a singer. And through school, into high school, I continued singing with the orchestras at the different dances we had, school dances and otherwise. And then it progressed and progressed into working as a professional rather than an amateur. I get no kick in a plane, flying too high with some gal in the sky is my idea of nothing to do. But I get a kick. You give me a boot, I get a kick out of you. It was a semi-slum area, and it was pretty rough. There weren't gang wars, but there were beefs and there were battles about position and who should cross the line into where we lived and cross the line into where they lived, you see. And I must say there were many times when I had to go on an errand that I skirted certain areas of the town, you know, because the cry will not kill the Dago when he comes through the corner of town.
If you're Italian, you must have had somebody with a bent nose in your family and a scar on his cheek, you know, some mafioso. The snide condescension, the Dago, the Guinea, the Wop, you know, the irritation that you have at hearing that said about your mother, your father, yourself, all of those forces.
I showed some signs when I was young of possibly becoming an engineer, civil engineer. I remember I did pencil sketches of bridges and tunnels and highways and roads. My father loved it, loved the idea. And when I got out of high school after about 2.5 to almost 3 years, he was terribly, terribly disappointed and very hurt because I decided to go into music. But my mother was always conscious of a show world and that it was there all the time. And my singing on street corners with the kids with the ukulele and singing in school with the band and all that stuff, she liked that whole idea. So she was really the power back of my choosing to go into the music business. She was the spark.
It was the blacks, and then the next gang that got it were the Italians. I think being an Italian, coming up through the set of circumstances that he did, his lifestyle at the beginning, his lifestyle all the way through, his ups and downs and all that. The Italian temperament, that's his anchor. That is Sinatra's anchor.
When I was 17, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for small town girls and soft summer nights. We'd hide from the lights on the village green. When I was 17.
Anyway, I got together a quartet, see? And we were called the Hoboken Four. And in those days, there was a very big radio program on called Major Bowes, Major Edward Bowes. And Bowes used to come on the air and he'd say,
around, around she goes, and where she stops, nobody knows. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, again we bring you new faces and new talent. The amateurs of today are the stars of tomorrow, and the wheel of fortune spins.
Who'll speak for the group? I will. I'm Frank, Major. We're looking for jobs. How about it?
All right, let's have it. Hoboken Four.
We'll shine up to you. Everybody's gonna hide you, dear. You'll make the whole world shine. Shine and sway your bluesy. Ah. Shine, start with these shoesy. Ah. You'll make the whole world shine.
The Hoboken Four won the biggest vote in the history of the show and became part of its touring company. They received $75 a week between them. Sinatra became a full-time professional singer at 19. The big singing sensation of the time was Bing Crosby.
There's no doubt that when Bing started, when he was a young man, he was influenced by the early jazz musicians who came out of New Orleans, beginning with Satchmo and a whole bunch of those people. I became influenced by, through many, many people, even Crosby himself.
Oh, it's a long, long while from May to December, but the days grow short when you reach September.
Well, I never wanted to sound like Crosby because in my youth, all the kids who wanted to be singers were all boo-boo-booing, and then I said, that's not what I want to do.
I'm sure neither one of us took it as a serious rivalry. I admired his work, and I hoped to believe that he admired mine. And we saw a lot of one another. He was on my radio show several times, and I went on a couple of shows he had.
Turns the leaves to flame, and I haven't got time for the waiting game.
Oh, the days dwindle down to a precious few.
September, November, and these few precious days I spend with you. These precious days I'll spend with you.
As far as vocalization is concerned, the idea of phraseology and the proper enunciation and the clear kind of sound of the words themselves, I think we've all taken from each other in the singing world.
Sinatra left the quartet and went solo. He picked up singing work wherever he could, sometimes playing clubs or roadhouses in the area for cigarettes and sandwiches. After bombarding them with applications, he managed to get some dates on WNEW radio in New York by working for nothing.
When I was 21, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for city girls who lived up the stair with all that perfumed hair. And it came undone when I was 21.
On the 4th of February 1939, Sinatra married Nancy Barbato. She was a $25 a week secretary. They'd known each other for 4 years. They had their honeymoon in their new home in Audubon Avenue in Jersey City. They weren't earning enough to go away. Nancy took a $15 advance from her salary to pay for publicity stills to help Sinatra promote a demo recording he'd made the day before the wedding. Nancy sent the stills to Harry James. James had recently left the Benny Goodman Orchestra. James went to see Sinatra sing at the Rustic Cabin in Inglewood, New Jersey, and hired him on the spot. They recorded All or Nothing at All that August. It was Sinatra's first hit.
I would be caught in the undertow, and so you see I've got to say no, no.
All or Nothing at All wasn't a hit the first time round, but it brought Sinatra to the attention of Tommy Dorsey. At the time, Dorsey led perhaps the most popular white band in America.
Oh, nothing at all.
After only 7 months, Sinatra left Harry James to join Dorsey's more successful outfit.
Technically, I was influenced by a lot of soloists in the sense of the violin or a cellist, like Heifetz. They had that sustained quality of notation that was an imperceptible feeling of the fact that the bow across the strings never broke. There was never the feeling of it stopping. And that technically is what I thought, what I learned from about. And then when people blew horns like Lester Young and Tommy and James and a lot of other people, and I was listening to musicians and how they breathed, and I began to work on that. So putting that together with lyrics so that there was the sustained feeling of an unbreakable phrase, so that the audience listening says, my God, I never heard that phrase sung that way. So that was my objective.
Sometimes I wonder why I spend the lonely nights dreaming of a song. The melody haunts my reverie, and I am once again with you. When our love was new, and each kiss an inspiration. But that was long ago, and now my consolation lies in the stardust of a song.
There was a certain discipline and a certain tunnel vision that happened with the big bands. That it was focused like this, that's all you could do. There was no life outside of that.
I'll never smile again.
Everything was focused on music, and that's why I think those bands sounded so well. They were together so much, and it was like a finely tuned engine.
Again, what good would it do? For tears would fill my eyes, my heart would realize that
I think there's nothing better happened to me than spending the years on the bus with the bands, because you worked 365 days a year, and if you're going to be good in any job at all, I think if you eat, sleep, walk, talk, and dream it, you're going to be good at it. In the end, you'll be a big man in it.
Frank and I were roommates when he first joined the band. Frank had made several recordings with the band. I think I'll Never Smile Again was his first really important venture into his own thing. And he came to me one time at the Paramount Theater and said, buddy, we're not going to be able to room together anymore. And I thought that was rather strange since I was paying the bills. And, I asked him why. And he said, well, you know, I'm young chicks and people are bothering me for autographs and I just won't have the time. So we went our different ways, and I don't know whatever happened to him.
What happened was in 1942, Sinatra went solo. Now known simply as The Voice, he'd become the most popular singer in America.
Come out wherever you are. Come out from under that star. Yes, and incidentally, mentally, I'm not up to par. So come out, wherever you are.
You were wonderful.
Wow, did you hear that?
I don't know.
You think he's got something, boss? Got something? Well, that guy is the greatest discovery of my career. Why, did you see those women around the room while he was singing? Did you see the expressions on their faces? If that guy was the Pied Piper Hamlin, there wouldn't be a dame left in town.
Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. Whether near to me or far.
Speculation has always surrounded Sinatra's split with Dorsey. Sinatra wanted to go solo, but Dorsey wanted him to stay. After a complex series of negotiations and some bitter wrangling, Dorsey finally let him go. But such was his contractual hold on Sinatra, he demanded 40% of the singer's earnings from then on. Sinatra had no choice but to agree. It would be years before he could afford to buy himself out of the deal.
That this longing for you follows wherever I go.
I decided that somebody should challenge Crosby because he had had the throne for, I don't know, so many years. And I thought maybe they're ready for a new kind of singer or a different kind of singer. So I consequently left the band and took my big shot at it.
And what happened?
Well, all hell broke loose.
It was 8 shows a day, huh? 8 shows, you look it up. It was always. I saw 2 scenes like that in my life in this city in entertainment. One was when I was in high school, and we went over, you had to get here at 4 o'clock in the morning to get into the Paramount to see Frank Sinatra. And the second scene I saw is when a police inspector at the Paramount upstairs begged the Beatles, please don't go near the window. You know, they're out in the street, and they started a conflagration out there. It was wonderful. I never saw anything like it.
There's such a hungry yearning burning way down inside of me. And its torment won't ever be through till you let me spend my life making love to you day and night and day.
I was never part of the Bobby Sox screaming, but I appreciate there was always something. I had arguments with people on this subject, whether it was just that you know, girls fancied him. I said it's not just that. There is a quality that is quite wonderful, phrasing that hadn't really been heard before.
In Hollywood, California, a golfing extravaganza with war bond sales as the objective. Bing Crosby leads off. Looking on is The Voice, Frank Sinatra. Frank said he couldn't even caddy for Bing and for that colossus of the fairways, Bob Hope.
Because of the damage done to his ear when he was born, Sinatra was rejected by the armed forces. The press, who had already begun to probe into Sinatra's life, questioned his lack of active service, but what they couldn't question was his commitment to the propaganda effort.
They'll say it's all right with me. People will say we're in love.
And now I'd like to introduce a young man who used to sing with our band. Ladies and gentlemen, The Voice.
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week.
Well, I've heard what a lot of people have said. Frank thought it was because they were lonely. A lot of people thought it was because they felt protective, you know, about him. But when he would sing those ballads, which was what really got through to them, he was singing for every single man and what every single girl would like the young man that would be coming back for her.
Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week. I sing the song that I sang for the memories I usually see, until I hear you at the door, until you're in my arms once more. Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week. Until I hear you at the door, until you're in my arms once more. Saturday night is the loneliest night of the week.
Thank you, Frankie. Thank you. Just lie down there any place. That was B2 Sinatra, folks. The only singer that has given Crosby any competition since Jenny Lind.
But beneath the easy sentimentality of American music, which would rather sing of love than battle, there lies a serious purpose, not to be expressed in any song. The will to triumph of democracy at war. Time marches on.
What is America to me? A name, a map, or a flag I see. A certain word, democracy. What is America to me?
During the war, Sinatra appeared in several Hollywood films, mostly playing the kind of singer that he was in real life.
A house I live in, a plot of earth, a street, the grocer and the butcher, and the people that I meet.
The House I Live In was the story of a successful singer, but one with a social conscience. The film was based on an idea Sinatra had himself. He played the lead and was awarded a special Oscar. He gave all the money he made to charity.
The place I work in, the worker at my side.
Frank, I'm proud to tell you that the readers of the Modern Screen magazine have selected you as the most popular film star of 1946. I take great pleasure in presenting you this bronze bust of yourself.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm sincerely grateful to you and to the readers of Modern Screen magazine. And I'm very happy about the whole thing. Thank you very much.
His working-class Italian background gave him a keen sense of civil rights. He publicly supported anti-racist organizations like the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. From his youth, he, like his mother, had been a committed member of the Democrat Party. By this time, he'd even gone to tea with Roosevelt.
The pilot of that ship was named Colin Kelly, an American and a Presbyterian. And you know who dropped the bombs? Meyer Levin, an American and a Jew. You think maybe they should have called the bombing off because they had different religions? Think about that, fellas. Use your good American heads. Don't let anybody make suckers out of you. Well, gotta go to work.
What do you want?
I sing.
Ah, you're a kid.
The house I live in had a message that America is and should be the true home of racial and religious tolerance. But this was the kind of view that could put you out of work in the America of the McCarthy hearings.
Are you a member of the Communist Party? Or have you ever been a member of the Communist Party?
In the view of Senator Joseph McCarthy, anything liberal smacked of communism, and his mission was to hunt it down and eliminate it. He regarded Hollywood with particular suspicion and was ruthless in his investigations of the art and entertainment world. Actors, bosses, writers and directors were called upon to denounce colleagues they considered to be un-American. Once condemned by the McCarthy witch hunt, even the biggest names would be shut out of the entertainment industry altogether.
Louis B. Mayer, MGM production chief.
Like others in the motion picture industry, I have maintained a relentless vigilance.
Testifying before McCarthy's all-powerful committee, Louis B. Mayer displayed a willingness to condemn all things thought to be un-American. And despite his previous enthusiasm for Sinatra's film career, a year after testifying, he sacked him.
Sinatra recording, take 3.
Although Sinatra was never called before the Un-American Activities Committee, he was named as one of several prominent figures who were said to have shown some sympathy for the Communist Party and its policies.
To find that I am forsaken.
Sinatra's outspoken liberal views had already made him a target for the right-wing press of William Randolph Hearst. His private life was scrutinized as relentlessly as his politics. When he was reported to be having affairs with movie stars Marilyn Maxwell and Lana Turner, Sinatra was not slow to show his displeasure to the reporters who harassed him, and he began to acquire a reputation for trouble.
My dream comes true. I long to kiss you, but I would not dare. I'm so afraid that you may vanish in the air.
One time at the Astor Hotel, we had a little confrontation, and he threw a pitcher of water at me, one of those great big heavy glass pitchers. And for some reason, I had just come off the bandstand, and he went over to this tray. They used to keep a tray for the musicians, water and things like that. And I felt this thing just whiz across the room, and right where I had been standing, this thing just smashed into a million pieces. If he had hit me, I wouldn't be here today.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Perfect game. And I think he'd been trying for weeks before that, just practicing.
Yeah.
And we had a little beef, and we settled things later on, and we're the greatest of friends today.
Yeah.
Things are really marvelous.
He's got the reputation of being a brawler, though. I mean, in fact, is he a brawler?
I think he likes to think he is. Yes, I think he carries a lot of very strange people with him to make sure that he wins.
Great artists, even the most gentle and pacific artists like Spencer Tracy or Gary Cooper or whoever, they have within them a feeling of an explosion. They have what makes them stars is that you feel that they might in fact blow the whole place to pieces emotionally at any particular moment. Frank had that by the ton. He had this demon in his belly, and that demon gave him his adrenaline and his excitement and his impact when he came and played or live in a theatre. And that was part of his personality. And to pretend that that didn't exist would be stupid. But if you admire what you see in the theatre of this extraordinary phenomenon of Sinatra, then you cannot pretend or fail to have some minute understanding of what drove him. And sometimes that drive manifests itself in unfortunate circumstances.
Hello, young lovers, whoever you are, I hope your troubles are few. All my good wishes go with you tonight. I've been in love like you.
Sinatra's high profile, his aggression, his celebrity, his life on the road, and evidence of his affairs with other women all put a strain on his marriage.
We always had those, this is what really happened, phone calls, where my dad would call up and say, you're going to read this in the paper, but this is what actually happened.
Cling very close to each other.
That's the one thing you can count on with him, is his honesty. He never lies. Never.
Like you.
News of the affair between Sinatra and Ava Gardner became public in 1949. Soon afterwards, Sinatra left the family home in Beverly Hills to live with her after a stormy and public courtship. Sinatra and Gardner were married in September 1950.
I fell in love with her too. I mean, she was just exquisitely beautiful. That beauty that literally takes the breath out of you. We were used to his not being in the same town because of his work, a little like a traveling salesman, you know. But the difference there was that my mother was suffering because, again, it was a public situation.
At a midnight film preview, Frank Sinatra heads a list of celebrities, including his new wife, Ava Gardner, and Robert Q. Lewis. The showing of Universal International's Meet Danny Wilson, in which Frankie stars, is attended by Milton Berle, who gets in a little fast work with the new bride. The cameraman also catches an unusual close-up of Dagmar, whose face is also her fortune. Among the film stars on hand, sporting a set of chin whiskers, is Robert Preston. And a proud mama and papa preview Danny Wilson, in which a young singer wins fame and fortune.
But Sinatra also had troubles outside his domestic life. A problem with his vocal cords caused him to lose his voice on several occasions while performing. And the vogue for big band vocalists was giving way to new names like Frankie Lane.
Jezebel, Jezebel, Jezebel.
Worst of all, Columbia, Sinatra's record company, acquired a new A&R man with ideas quite different from his own. Mitch Miller was the king of the sing-along and the novelty song. His records sold in their millions, and Sinatra loathed them. Miller's idea of the right song for the voice was a duet with Dagmar, a household name at the time. The song was called Mama Will Bark.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, the Paramount Theater presents the spectacle of the age, Dagmar.
Mr. Sinatra?
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you call me a spectacle?
Well, because you're so good for the eyes. Oh, there you are.
It was the doggonest thing you ever heard. She said,
Mama will bark.
You look so lovely in the moonlight.
Yes, but Papa will bark.
Your eyes are shining like the starlight.
Yes, but Mama will bark.
Your lips are so inviting, darling. Give me one more kiss.
Mama will spank.
The night is young and you are here so near.
But Papa will spank.
Please let me whisper in your ear, my dear.
It was never going to work. Sinatra's sales declined and he was sacked from the label. It was a time for reappraisal.
I got rid of a lot of personal problems, and I went to new management. and I went to new attorneys and new accountants, and I cleared the field and got a brand new start, like I was just beginning, except that the experience that I had had was always there. And I realized at that point that there was another way I wanted to use it.
In the beginning was the word, the saying goes. And no one's more conscious of the importance of words than the picture makers in Hollywood. It's been my very good fortune of recent years to appear in some motion pictures which began as words on a printed page. Exciting words, which made stories that had something important to say. For instance, this one started the dramatic ball rolling for me. As a book, it raised a lot of eyebrows, and as a picture, it did the same.
Sinatra had heard that director Fred Zinnemann was planning to film From Here to Eternity, the popular book by James Jones. He became desperate to play a puny but obstreperous character called Maggio. He seemed to find an echo of his own character and situation in this underdog beset by bullies. He got the part, but it came back to haunt him. In The Godfather, there is a portrayal of an Italian-American crooner whose career is flagging. He's convinced he'll be back on top if only he can land the part in a war movie that's about to be made. He enlists the support of the mafia to persuade the producer to cast him, with terrible consequences. A notion took hold that the crooner character's story was based on Sinatra's need to play Maggio in From Here to Eternity. Despite adamant denials by The Godfather's writer and everyone else concerned, the story simply became part of the mythology that surrounds him today.
Sinatra, from the beginning, kept sending cables to Harry Connick, to me, calling himself Maggio, signing Maggio, saying that he was the person to play that part. As it happened, we couldn't get Eli Wallach, and then we decided to make a test of Sinatra, who was then in Africa, with Ava Gardner, who was working with John Ford on Mogambo, and Cohn cabled him saying that if he came back at his own cost, we would make a test. Cohn was a very careful man with a penny. And so Sinatra came back on his own cost, made a test, and was Sinatra in uniform, but was good.
Why, it's Angelo Maggio.
Greetings, Mrs. Kipper. Sweetie pie, dues all paid up. Hey, what you got playing the piano there, hippo?
People who don't understand acting say, oh, he's only playing himself.
Oh, you know how I hate it when you boys are in this condition.
If you play yourself, you play something which reveals yourself. You peel off the onion skins, and there you are. Frank did that. But that's what Frank could do. Frank did not have he was not a character actor. Frank presented his own magical personality.
It's funny, I came in and I stood there and saw you sitting over here.
Why don't you knock it off, buddy? Put a mute in that thing. I'll play loud as I want, you little wop. Little wop?
Mess with me, fat stuff, and I'll bust you up.
You must be in a hurry for trouble, wop.
Wait right here for me, will you?
Yeah, sure. Gentlemen, you know I will not
This
have
little
you sort of
Mussolini here is trying to tell me how to
Like
play
to
the
bust
piano.
my eardrums with the stinking noise.
Please, let's not be
Crank
cruel.
it up, Angelo.
Men
Come on,
will
come
just
on.
have to go if you can't behave yourself.
Only my friends call me Wop. You know who that guy is? What do I care who he is?
Who is he?
Fatso Judson, sergeant of the guard at the Stockade. Telling you, let him alone. I seen him nearly murder a guy once. He likes it.
Okay, bully boy, now you won the war. Let's dance, huh?
Yeah, we'll dance. First, I gotta calm my nerves. Let's go to a phone booth or something, huh? Where I will unveil a fifth of whiskey I have hidden here under my loose flowing sports shirt. Don't get hurt, pal.
The winner is Frank Sinatra.
He obviously was an extremely astute actor, in that he was aware of the confines of his talent. And one of the things that he could do was to tell a story in his acting. He could convince you of circumstances and of emotion and so on, nothing very complex and sophisticated, but he could convince you of his feelings at that particular moment. Now, a lot of his songs, apart from the velvet sound of his voice, were performed stories.
I'm deeply thrilled and very moved. And I really don't know what to say, because this is a whole new kind of thing, you know. I song and dance man type stuff.
The famous places to visit are so many, so the guidebooks say. I told my grandpa I wouldn't miss on any, and we got just one day. Gotta see the whole town right from Yonkers on down to the Bay. In just one day. New York, the wonderful town. The Bronx is up and the Battery down. The people ride in a hole in the ground. New York, it's a wonderful town.
When I was 35, it was a very good year. It was a very good year for blue-blooded girls of independent means. We'd ride in limousines. Their chauffeurs would drive. When I was 35.
Hollywood was also the home of the record company that would become irrevocably associated with his name. It was here that Sinatra would develop the sound that would make him a legend.
Fairy tales can come true. It can happen to you if you're young at heart. For it's hard, you will find, to be narrow of mind if you're young at heart. You can go to extremes with impossible schemes. You can laugh when your dreams fall apart at the seams. And life gets more exciting with each passing day. And love is either in your heart or on its way.
Nelson Riddle was the key to Sinatra's capital sound. He had a brilliant command of symphonic scoring, which modernized the kind of big band jazz styles that Sinatra had previously pursued. The result was a cool, easy swinging sound, balanced by lush, intimate ballads. He invented a new kind of album, one that evoked a single mood or theme.
I got a song that I sing, I can make the rain go anytime I move my finger. Lucky me, can't you see I'm in love? Life is a beautiful thing.
What I didn't know all the years that I was working with the dance bands was that in order to explain a lyric properly, there must be some acting involved in it. There must be.
I got the world on a string.
It almost borders on the kabuki with your hands and your actions on the stage, and the crescendos and diminuendos in your voice, and the nuances. All of that came to the foreground for me, and then it broke open, and I knew I was fine.
Life's a wonderful thing. Just as long as I hold that string, I'd be a silly so-and-so if I should ever let it go. I've got the world on a string, sitting on a rainbow. Got the string around my finger. What a world. This is life. Hey now, life is hard.
An album is a mood. You put on, and one of the biggest arguments you'd ever have when you do an album was to keep it a mood. That was what we tried to do, and Frank was the first one to be able to have enough clout to be able to do that, and we all tried to do it to some degree. If you have a swinging album, let it swing, you know, and then come down to a ballad if you want to, but don't try to break it up. You've broken a mood, that, you know, a lovely romantic mood, and that's what albums were for, or they were for you know, for dancing or whatever.
Everything about it, the arrangements, he chose the arrangers. And then he would sing the songs to the arrangers and set the mood and say, this is the mood I want. And then on the date, he would make it, it would be perfect. And if you listen to any of his recordings, from his first recordings, I mean, when he went out on his own, there's nothing like them. No one will ever, it's like he weaves a spell. And there'll never be another Frank Sinatra.
Nelson and I met years before that. Nelson did some arranging for the Tommy Dorsey Orchestra after I had left the orchestra. And we were friendly through the years, until obviously up until the time we began to work. But when I heard the things that he had been doing with Nat, I said, I've got to work with this guy because he's absolutely marvelous. And he really did some beautiful orchestrations, wonderful orchestrations. And he and Nat fitted so well that I was trying to be as successful as a vocalist with Nelson as Nat was. And I never did find out whether we made it or not.
The moment that you speak, I want to go play hide and seek. I want to go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across a meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots. You make me feel so young. You make me feel there are songs to be sung, bells to be rung, and a wonderful fling to be flung. And even when I'm old and gray, I'm gonna feel the way I do today, 'cause you make me feel so young. You make me feel so young. You make me feel so spring has sprung. And every time I see you grin, I'm such a happy individual. The moment that you speak, I want to go and play hide and seek. I want to go and bounce the moon just like a toy balloon. You and I are just like a couple of tots running across a meadow, picking up lots of forget-me-nots. You make me feel so young.
In the mid-50s, Sinatra began to appear regularly in the new resort of Las Vegas. During the 50s, he would make 18 albums for Capitol, most of them considered to be classics. He also made 20 feature films. This was Sinatra at the height of his powers.
It's great.
Ah, it's great.
It's grand.
So grand.
It's wonderland. La 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 bum bum. La la la. We sing so rare, like old Camembert, like Barbara. Don't dig that kind of crooning, chum.
You must be one of the newer fellas.
Have you heard it's in the stars? Next July we collide with Mars. Well, did you ever? What a swell party, a swell party, a swelligant, elegant party this is.
She's been here 3 or 4 times. I got a funny feeling people are staring at me. Miss Shirley MacLaine. Shirley?
Sinatra made Las Vegas his base of operations. The name of the Sands became synonymous with the Rat Pack and the Clan. Dean Martin, Sammy Davis Jr., Peter Lawford and Joey Bishop formed a raucous group of cronies with Sinatra at its head. The line between their lives on stage and off was a blur.
Can take me just so far. Talk to me, talk to me, talk to me.
If you're going to laugh, go sit in the audience. We don't need you on stage. For God's sake, somebody out there talk to him.
You set me all aflame, and it's so pleasing. Be a goddamn shame if you were only teasing. So, my love, before you go, turn off the light and grab the dough.
He's a very powerful gentleman. I've never seen him use it destructively. He does take positions. I mean, if he doesn't like you, and if you have done something that deserves his disfavor, usually he's got good judgment. He's fair about it. He just doesn't say he's out, he's in. You know, it sounds like that, but that's not the way he operates. At least he didn't.
What sort of thing would earn his disfavor
there? Dishonesty. Someone saying, well, you can do that and change their mind, or, you know, just various things.
Because the implication of if Frank likes you, you're in, is that if he doesn't like you, you're out. And this does have a faintly sinister implication.
Well, that again, I think, comes through the media, you know, through the years that he's gathered this aura, whatever you want to call it, around him, that he is all-powerful and can snap his fingers, and he can. But being redundant, I've never seen him use it to really hurt anyone.
So it's really...
We've had our differences through the years, you know, like we haven't talked for, like, you know, the last time we didn't talk was for 7 years.
Hello yourself, and greetings from your pal Joey. That's me. Of course, my name's Frank Sinatra. But in my latest picture, I play Pal Joey.
The film of Pal Joey was no match for the quality of the Rodgers and Hart songs on the soundtrack. Sinatra played a character that mirrored the playboy role he had chosen for himself in real life.
Joey even has his own slanguage, made up purely of Joeyisms. Now, to start with, we'll take the word mouse. This is a mouse, a beautiful mouse called Kim Novak.
Valentine's Day.
Now that we've gotten this far, I suppose you think that the plural of mouse is mouses. It is mice, and here are some dandy examples.
Wowie, wow, wow, wow.
Now, studying a case history of Joey, you must know his philosophy. You treat a dame like a lady, and treat a lady like a dame.
She gets too hungry for dinner at 8. She likes the theater, never comes late. She'd never bother with people she'd hate.
Marriage to Ava Gardner had always been tempestuous. She proved to be as volatile as he. There were reports of infidelity on both sides, and Sinatra even attempted suicide.
We saw a great deal of them as a couple. Volatile, to say the least.
When there were screams and shouts and things throwing at each other, you know, bang, crash, out came Ava. I'm not going to give that son of a bitch. So Frank took off in a rush and went down, and we afterwards, and the whole time she was saying, he's impossible, that stupid, conceited son of a bitch. He's not that great a singer anyway. And we arrive at the Ambassador, and we're shown to our thing, and on comes Frank, and he starts to sing. And he starts to sing right to her. And she says, oh, look at him. Oh, God, isn't he wonderful? You know, floods of tears, and he's singing to her. I thought, that's what you hated him. No, he's wonderful. Look at him, you know, crazy. They adored each other and fought the whole time.
The inevitable announcement came in 1959. They divorced due to irreconcilable differences.
I think he was the love of her life. I know he was. Everything I've learned, definitely.
Why didn't it work?
In my opinion, in retrospect, too many outside pressures, mostly career pressures. She was on location doing this, he had to be there doing that. Not enough together time.
It's 2:45. No one in the place except you and me. So set 'em up, Joe. I got a little story you ought to know. We're drinking, my friend, to the end of a brief episode. Make it one for my baby and one more for the road. I got the routine, so put another nickel in the machine. I'm feeling so bad. Can't you make the music easy and sad? I could tell you a lot, but you've got to be true to your code. Make it one for my baby and one more for the road. You'd never know it, but buddy, I'm a kind of poet, and I got a lot of things I want to say. And when I'm gloomy, you gotta listen to me till it's talked away. Well, that's how it goes. And Joe, I know you're getting anxious to close. And thanks for the cheer. I hope you didn't mind my bend in your ear. But this torch that I found gotta be drowned, or it soon might explode. So make it one for my baby and one more for the road. The long
He doesn't do anything halfway. And for instance, whenever he would do an album or any kind of a recording, the night before, he would always study the lyric, and he would treat it like a poem. So he knew the story content. He knew exactly the highs, the lows, and what he was going to do with it, and how it phrased properly, like a poem. So when he went in to record the next day, he was ready.
Love comes in and takes you for a spin. Ooh la la la.
He met Juliette Prowse on the set of Can-Can in 1960. They became engaged, but never married.
It's the wrong time and the wrong place. Though your face is charming, it's the wrong face. It's not her face, but such a charming face that it's all right with me. It's the wrong song in the wrong style. Though your smile is lovely, it's the wrong smile. It's not her smile, but such a lovely smile. So it's all right with me.
When Khrushchev visited the set of Can-Can, he wanted to meet one of the most famous celebrities in the world. Sinatra hosted a grand lunch for the Soviet premier. By now, Sinatra had achieved everything that show business had to offer. He began to look to wider horizons.
He's got high hopes, 1960's the year for his high hopes. Come on and vote for Kennedy, vote for Kennedy, and we'll come on.
Sinatra was introduced to John F. Kennedy, the Democrat candidate for the 1960 presidential election, by Peter Lawford. He was one of the Rat Pack and also happened to be Kennedy's brother-in-law.
Joseph Kennedy asked my father if he could get Sam Giancana to help him get his son elected president of the United States. And my father said, "I'll try." And he spoke with Sam, who owned several nightclubs where he worked.
Sam Giancana was a notorious mobster who had a controlling interest in America's most powerful union, the Teamsters.
If you trace the story of the mafia from the time of Prohibition in the States in the 20s, and you move to the music clubs from the speakeasies, and then you migrate west to Las Vegas, where they owned all the hotels. And of course, along the way, they got involved in magazine business and things like that. It was impossible to work in show business in the 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s in America without coming in contact with these people.
Kennedy, vote for Kennedy, and we'll come out on top.
And Sam was very connected to the big unions like the Teamsters Union and wielded a certain amount of power with the voters of these unions. And Sam agreed to help in a very big way to sway the election to Kennedy. And my father had to pay him back in that sense because one hand washes the other. And he had to work for nothing in Sam's clubs and got his friends to do the same because that was the deal that they struck.
Senator Kennedy will be the next president of the United States.
But there was certainly nothing underhanded about it or anything that would be illicit.
Sinatra campaigned for Kennedy all of that summer. The Rat Pack became publicly associated with Kennedy's inner circle, and Sinatra organized the inauguration ball when Kennedy was elected. In the same year, He also bought into a casino at Lake Tahoe, the Calneva, so called because it was situated on the border between California and Nevada. As well as the gambling, it provided a showcase for his friends.
How long have I been on? When you're drinking, the show looks good to you. When you're drinking, you get stinking. It helps your point of view. But when you're sober, the skies all seem gray. Yeah, when you're sober, life's a pain. So keep drinking. That's what I'm thinking. 'Cause it's what I sort of like to do. I love Las Vegas.
In a few seconds, you will witness a scene often viewed by the residents of Las Vegas, but an unusual thrill for the visitor. When these scenes were being filmed, scientists were standing by at the Nevada Proving Grounds 100 miles away to detonate an atomic device. Watch closely for a man-made sun.
Well, it's 1 for the money, 2 for the show, 3 to get ready. Now go, cat, go, but don't you step on my blue suede shoe. Well, you can do anything but stay over my blue suede shoe.
Elvis Presley challenged Sinatra for the position of the world's most famous entertainer, just as Sinatra had challenged Crosby 20 years earlier.
Love me tender, love me true, all my dreams fulfill. For my darling, I love you, and I always will. It's such an ancient pitch, what I would switch, 'cause there's no nicer witch than witchcraft. I love you, and I always will. For my darling, I love you. Man, that's pretty. And I always will.
I was driving through town nicely, and I hear this man singing one of my songs.
You're out of your goddamn mind.
The arrival of Elvis and rock and roll put the world of the Rat Pack into a new perspective. Their hijinks and cool demeanor began to seem stale and self-absorbed. Sinatra would never be able to come to terms with rock and roll, nor did he take to the new recording techniques that were developing. He believed a singer should record with a whole orchestra, live in the studio. He felt that overdubbing destroyed the interplay between singer and musicians. Once again, he changed tack and simply formed his own record company, Reprise. He persuaded friends like Duke Ellington, Ella Fitzgerald, as well as Dean Martin and Sammy Davis, to sign for the new label. He was now totally in control of all aspects of his work, or so it seemed. In 1963, when Sinatra routinely applied to renew his gaming license at the Calneva, allegations that he was associated with the mafia surfaced for the first time. Sam Giancana had been barred by the state authorities from entering any casino in Nevada.
I had a telephone call from Eddie King, who was one of our employees. And he said to me, Giancana's here visiting his lady, and we just broke up a hell of a fight in the bungalow. And at that point is when I said, get him off the property. I never invited Mr. Giancana to La Calneva. I never hosted for him, and I never saw him at Calneva.
Not everyone in the Kennedy administration was as enthusiastic about Sinatra as the president himself had appeared to be. Bobby Kennedy in particular had declared war on organized crime, and Sinatra was tainted by association.
Will you tell us anything about any of your operations, or you just giggle every time I ask you a question?
Decline to answer because I always believe my answer might tend to incriminate me.
I thought only little girls giggled, Mr. Giancana.
The White House increasingly distanced itself from Sinatra after the Calneva incident. Sinatra was especially upset when Kennedy visited Palm Springs and rejected his invitation, and stayed instead at the home of Bing Crosby, a noted Republican. At the end of 1963, Kennedy was assassinated. Sinatra's influence at the White House was over. So too eventually would be his high-profile association with the Democrats. He abandoned all attempts to renew his gaming license and sold Reprise, his record company, to Warner's for a third of their stock and $3.25 million.
Were you frightened when you, or anxious when you went out originally? I mean, the night that they returned the boy?
You mean when I went up and didn't find him?
Yes.
Well, I was scared to death when I didn't find him.
16 days after the assassination of Kennedy, Frank Sinatra Jr. was kidnapped from a hotel in Lake Tahoe where he was working as a singer.
Frank, from the very beginning and subsequently as a father, did you feel confident you'd get your boy back safe and soundly, or were you...
Well, I had trepidation. I was a little worried, and I was distraught for a good while. But then, as I began to get more phone calls, I began to be more heartened. I thought perhaps that they weren't out to hurt the boy. They just wanted the money, and we were pleased to give them the money. But in the beginning, I was pretty frantic. As a father, I may have been too much of a father from time to time. Not that my kids are spoiled, but I was so crazy about them all the time that I guess I just crowded them a lot, but they kind of loved it, and so did I. So there was no problem. They turned out to be great children. All three of them are great kids.
How did Frankie's mother react to all this?
She was pretty stoic, I might say, but she had her moments.
Yeah.
All of my life, I've been living with a little dark spot somewhere in the back of my mind that this could happen to our family, or any family, I suppose, in the public eye.
In color, the continuing story of Peyton Place.
At 19, Mia Farrow was already nationally famous as one of the stars of the saccharine soap opera Peyton Place. Sinatra met her when he was starring in Von Ryan's Express. She was working on the next lot at 20th Century Fox Studios.
I felt it was absolutely real. I felt it was... she adored him. She absolutely adored him. And you see, he was dependent on the girl. He was very gentle with Mia. It was a very different kind of relationship between the one with Ava and the one with Mia. The one with Ava you felt might blow up all over the walls at any moment. The one with Mia was much more gentle. I mean, it was almost an old married couple, you know, although this child was so many years younger than he was.
Their marriage lasted 2 years. Its brevity was put down once again to the pressures of their different working lives.
I tried to be as good a husband as I possibly could be. It didn't always work, but those things happened, but I had as much love and still have as much love for every one of my mates that's possible to have.
And now the end is near, and so I face the final curtain. My friend, I'll make it clear. I'll state my case, of which I'm certain. I've lived a life that's full. I've traveled each and every highway, and more, much more than this, I did it my way.
Sinatra claimed never to be that crazy about My Way, but it became his most famous song. It was astonishingly successful all around the world. The song was in the British charts for 2 years. As the sales of the song finally receded, Sinatra suddenly announced his retirement, and so began, as one commentator put it, the longest farewell concert in history.
What are we going to talk about?
Well, Frank, your colleagues in Hollywood have honored you once again. Are you really going to retire?
Oh, yes, that's permanent. That's the answer to it all, I think, for me.
Did a good part, perhaps really good part, get you
In a film?
retirement?
No, I don't think so. No. Not even a recording.
What are your plans now?
For the next year, nothing. Just nothing.
Just going to relax?
Just nothing.
Why?
Because I want to just take it easy for 1 year. Or maybe 6 months or 7 months. I don't know, you know. But I just want to stop, take my wristwatch off and take it easy.
Frank, what about a song that you might really dig?
No. I'll let you know in a year.
He married for the 4th time in 1976 to Barbara Marx. The marriage endured, but retirement was a vain ambition. He was performing again after 3 years. More importantly, he'd become an institution, honored all over the world. The old liaisons withered. Sinatra became a Republican in support of his old friend Ronald Reagan. The Rat Pack scattered, and he got into the nostalgia business, rehashing old routines with even older pals.
I think everybody went his own way. I think Dean became, well, he's practically a recluse now. I don't see much. We talk a lot on the telephone. But I don't see much of him. And Sammy I talk to a great deal. Like, for instance, just recently he was in Reno and I was in Tahoe. We didn't get to see each other because we worked the same hours. And the rest of the guys I hardly see. I don't know where they are anymore. It's just one of those things where it breaks up. You don't work together again, is what the problem is. I think it's the same in most industries. You make friends in one division of a job, and then somebody moves out and goes to another job, and that's it.
You expected? It wasn't all that I expected.
It wasn't enough?
No, it wasn't quite enough.
Did you get a lot of pressure to come back?
That's really what it started, was all of the pressure we had.
How so?
Mail, phone calls, just talking to people. I just feel that every time I went to bat to do something in my work, I wanted it to be the best. It didn't always happen because there were the frailties of human nature, with maybe a bad throat or a little bit being a little impatient on a recording session and saying, okay, let's press it anyway. But what I've been trying to do all these years is to take popular singing and make it an art, because I believe that popular singing is an art all by itself.
When I touch your hand, a beautiful melody from some enchanted land, down deep in my heart, I hear it say, is this the day?
I was one of the ones that sighed a lot when he sang at the Paramount Theater in New York. And the most surprising thing happened, because there I was co-starring with him, and my knees began to knock. And I realized that the fan in me was taking over the leading lady. And I suddenly was very excited about meeting my favorite crooner. I never told Frank that.
I alone have heard this lovely strain. I alone have heard this glad refrain. Must it be forever inside of me? Why can't I let it go Why can't I let you know? Why can't I let you know the song my heart would sing? That beautiful rhapsody of love and youth and spring. The music is sweet, the words are true, the song is you.
Another guy. Speak up, Fernando.
It's my pleasure, an honor, to present you with this wonderful award.
Thank you very much, Jimmy. And thank you, all of you who put this thing together. It's absolutely thrilling. It really knocked me out. Absolutely knocked me out. I couldn't have been more lucky than I've been in my life because of the friendship I had with all of people like Jimmy Stewart and Gene Kelly and a whole bunch of people like that. They all helped along the way. Because well, they won't mind this. I was a little younger than them at the time. But I loved every minute that I've had in my life in show business and without show business. Just loved it. And I thank you all for coming this evening. Not much more I can say, because it's... Thank you. Thank you.
But now the days are short. I'm in the autumn of the year, and now I think of my life as vintage wine from fine old kegs, from the brim to the dregs. It poured sweet and clear. It was a very good year.
Night and day, you are the one. Only you beneath the moon and under the sun. Whether near to me or far, it's no matter, darling, where you are. I think of you day and night, night and day. Why is it so that this longing for you